Hi, I'm Donald Robertson. I'm the author of How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, the Stoic Philosophy of Marcus Aurelius, and I'm delighted to be here today with Eduard Pollhammer, the Scientific Director at Carnuntum. Pleasure to meet you too. And we're in the Carnuntum Museum in Austria. And today we're going to talk about the history of the area, in particular the archaeological finds and exhibits that are here from Roman Carnuntum in the imperial period, and maybe a little bit how it relates in particular to Marcus Aurelius. So, Eduard, I wanted to start off just by asking you for a bit of an overview. What sort of archaeological evidence do we have at Carnuntum? What's been found here, and what kind of exhibits do you have in the museum?
Yeah, I have to say, Carnuntum has a very long history, about more than 400 years, and it's especially the military that made Carnuntum to one of the most important military, political, and economic center in the region of the Middle Danube. The special significance of the town is the enormous numbers of soldiers stationed here in Carnuntum. We have a legion, we have an auxiliary troop, fleet, and also the governor's guard. We have for sure more than 7,000 soldiers stationed here. And during the time of Marcus Aurelius, we think even more, of course. We had a 3 years running project. In the frame of this project, we were investigating the whole area of Carnuntum with geophysical methods, and our knowledge about the city rises really a lot because of these projects, and we discovered 21 temporary military camps in Carnuntum, a huge number in the surrounding of Carnuntum. And we cannot date them, of course, because they are not excavated yet, but we are sure that for sure some of them are erected during the time of Marcus Aurelius, and they were erected to collect different troops before a military campaign starts.
Right.
And we have, before the reign of Marcus Aurelius, we have during the period of Hadrian and Antoninus Pius, we have a really golden age in Carnuntum. It was interrupted by the outbreak of the Marcomannic Wars, but what we see in Carnuntum, the normal life went on. We have no decrease in population. We have no destruction levels during these times, and we have building activities during these times in the legionary camp as well as in the civilian city. Yes.
So it seems kind of surprising in a way. Yeah. So, and also, so it was important, there was a huge military presence here at Carnuntum. Carnuntum was the capital, is that right, of Upper Pannonia?
Absolutely right.
During the reign of Marcus Aurelius. And also an important location in terms of trade for the Roman Empire. So it would have been, the city here would have been presumably quite a wealthy Roman city, a prosperous city.
Absolutely. It was, especially because of the trade and the possibility to rise custom duties here in Carnuntum. We know the Amber Road crossed the Danube here in Carnuntum, and the Danube itself, it was frontier, of course, during the times of war, but it was also connected element
for trade.
For trade, and here we have the possibility to control the moving of people, the trade, and of course to rise the customers' duties.
So this is managing trade is a very important part of what went on here. And so we're right beside the Danube here. And actually, you mentioned the Amber Road. If I remember rightly, we know that when the Marcomanni invaded at the beginning of the war, they travelled down the Amber Road to Aquileia in Italy and besieged that city. So these routes were very important in the Roman Empire. What else do we know about the Marcomannic War and what happened here during that period?
During the Marcomannic Wars, we know that Carnuntum was one of the center of Marcus Aurelius. He was here in Carnuntum from AD 171 to 173, mostly he was in Carnuntum, and he had to strike back the Germanic tribes that came to Aquileia, received Aquileia, strike back.
They had to drive them all the way back out of Pannonia, across the Danube, into their own territory, right?
Right. And as we know, during this time, Marcus Aurelius wrote the second book of his meditations in Carnuntum, and as we know, he ends with the word, with ta en Carnuntum.
That was very generous, very helpful of him. So we know from that little section, a rubric in the text, he says, I wrote it at Carnuntum.
Absolutely.
Cool. And you mentioned also some archaeological evidence about a Praetorian Guard.
Yeah, right. We have, of course, the literary evidences, but also we have the archaeological evidences. For example, the last year we found a tombstone of a soldier of the Praetorian Guard, and we know that the Praetorians came together, of course, with Marcus Aurelius and
they were the emperor's bodyguard.
Absolutely right. And this soldier died exactly in 171.
That's very helpful as well. So we've got the date, though he was definitely here in 171. So we know that he was here from about 171 to 173, at least some of the time, and he wrote at least some of the meditations here. And then during the Second Marcomannic War, he may or may not have returned to Carnuntum. We don't really know.
We don't really know. Yes.
But he was here, and this would have been definitely, we can tell it would have been an important military base for him during the Marcomannic Wars.
Absolutely. And his headquarters for sure was in the legionary camp, but we don't know exactly about his living situation, but in the framework of this huge project with this geophysics, we found a palace-like building next or near the governor's palace with a lot of bathing facilities, and of course we know together with Marcus Aurelius came members of his family and the imperial household. For sure more hundreds of people came together, and his living situation was for sure also in Carnuntum appropriate for an emperor.
So there's the governor's palace in the military, which would have been in the military camp, and then there's another, like an extension or another building beside it that may have been where the emperor had his residence. And what do you think? Do we know anything else about what the emperor's life would have been like here?
We know not very much about the emperor's life here. Of course, we know that the situation was for sure appropriate for an emperor. The winter here are much colder than in Italy, of course.
And we know Cassius Dio says that Marcus Aurelius, when he was to address the troops, because he was very frail, he struggled with the cold air in his voice to project his voice. He didn't like the cold. He wasn't used to it.
We don't know exactly if he spent the whole winter in Carnuntum, but of course in the northern provinces we have a long tradition with heating systems and so on, and it is for sure it is possible that he spent also the winter here in Carnuntum. Yes.
What do we imagine? Do we know much about what it would have been like for ordinary civilians or legionaries who were stationed here? Like, what would their life have been like?
It's a normal life here, and also, of course, as we said, the trade plays a lot of a very important role in Carnuntum. What we also know is that from the middle of the 2nd century, a lot of new Germanic settlements were erected along the river Morava, and it's also in the time of Marcus Aurelius, and we in these settlements we find imported luxury goods, Roman luxury goods, and also here in Carnuntum we know that the Romans imported raw materials, especially as honey, but also particular amber. And we have found a lot of founds of amber here in Carnuntum.
So why was amber particularly important to them? For jewelry?
For jewelry, right. There was a center in Aquileia, but also we know, because we found the raw material of amber here in Carnuntum, that it were also cut here and made jewelries in Carnuntum too, right.
Okay, and I also wanted to ask you, because I know in particular one of your main exhibits here is the Temple of Mithras, right? And there are 6, is that right?
Four. We know four Mithras sanctuaries here in Carnuntum.
And so what do we know from the archaeological findings, from the scientific evidence here? Because it's a mystery religion, so it's very secretive. There's very little written, not much written evidence about it, and so a lot of what we know comes from the archaeological finds.
Right. Of course, we have literature evidences, but we have to be careful with this, because they are Christian authors normally. So we have to be careful what they tell us. Of course, the evidences comes from the archaeology, and we have 4 Mithras sanctuaries, and we know the first one was erected in the end of the 1st century already. It was the 15th Legion came back from the Jewish war and brought. We think that they brought Mithras with
from
them
the east.
From the east, yes, right. And it was very popular, especially Mithras. From the middle or the second half of the 2nd century and the 3rd century, we have a lot of dedications here, and a big Mithras sanctuary was excavated also in Petronella.
We were talking earlier, but we were talking about things that we don't know, and one of the gaps in our knowledge, and one of them is, we don't know whether Marcus Aurelius was an initiate of the cult of Mithras or not, but it's very tempting to think he might have been.
But we cannot, for an archaeologist, I cannot tell you an answer, because we have no dedications, we have no evidences, but of course, there is the possibility.
It would have been a very prominent thing. It would have been a very familiar thing to him through his life at Carnuntum, and it was a very popular religious cult, especially among the legionaries, right?
Right. The soldiers, the people who are connected with customs and so on. It was very popular, and. And it becomes very popular too in late antiquity, and Mithras was connected with the goddess Sol, and especially when in Carnuntum the Emperor Conference took place. They renovated a Mithras sanctuary and made the emperors themselves made the dedication to Mithras. It was very, very famous.
That's very interesting, and maybe we can just mention as well one other thing about the sanctuaries of Mithras appear to be full of astrological symbolism. I believe they were painted with stars or constellations on the walls. It's thought.
Absolutely
And so we've been talking a little bit about possible kind of connections with the text of the Meditations, and we can't know for sure if this is what he's referring to, but again, there are passages in the Meditations where Marcus says, imagine that you're surrounded by stars, and certainly that's something that someone might see when they were in one of those caves or sanctuaries in Mithras. So finally, just to wrap up, I wanted to ask you, what's your favourite thing at Carnuntum to tell people about or show them? What's your favourite exhibit or thing that you like to tell?
Of course, very important and is the archaeological site, but only few percent are excavated now, and we have a good idea because we have this running project with geophysics. But my favorite is the Museum Carnuntinum. Here we present the special finds. Here we can make exhibition and to show the people special themes around Carnuntum, what is important, and now we have a current exhibition, the Eagle of Rome, and it deals around the military. And one of my special artifacts of Carnuntum are the 2 statues directly when you enter the museum. It's an emperor of the Severian period, and he already was found in the end of the 19th century, and it's one of the favorite finds. Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. So thanks once again, Eduard Pollhammer.
It was a pleasure for me.
It's a pleasure for me
Thank you
too.
very much. Yeah.
And I hope that having watched this, some people, if they have the opportunity, might come along to the museum here and visit Carnuntum, because there's some amazing things to explore here.